Hey, welcome back to Rob's Garage Woodworking. Today I'm going to show you how to make this hardware cabinet. But it's not your average hardware cabinet. It has tilt-out drawers. It has 3 sizes of tilt-out drawers, which are also removable. And it has sliding doors. So you can reveal more of your hardware behind. So you can actually do this with your regular old-fashioned hardware storage bins, which I'm going to grab and show you here. You could use these also for a sliding hardware cabinet. These ones are a little deeper than these, but you could do it. You could put them in and make doors and slide them back and forth. But that's not what I'm making right at the moment. So here we go. We have basically 3 sections for this. We have the doors, and we have the base cabinet, the bottom cabinet, and then we have the main cabinet, which is here. So the base cabinet, I'll show you like full instructions. The doors, I will show you full instructions. And the main cabinet, it's actually relatively easy to build. I had some issues during the design, which I had to redo a couple of things. So there's a slight modification with the doors, which is all part of the video, which is fine. But the main cabinet, I lost my footage because I had to redo the whole thing. So actually I didn't really have to redo the whole thing. What I had to do was remove some parts. So in here there's some spacers, and I had them evenly spaced, and I had to double them up in the middle. So that's the difference. So I will show you a plan on how to do that. Alright? So stay tuned, and here we go. So, before we put it on the plywood, I'm actually going to put this together first. So the short pieces, the long pieces go in between the short pieces. Alright? So they will go like this. And then this fits on top of it like this. And then there's a little bit of an overhang. Okay? So glue out. Run a bead of glue on both sides. And I'm going to use 1 1/4 inch brads. Set these up, line them up, keep them flush. Once you do that, set that in place. I'm going to run a bead of glue all the way along. Now we're going to put this on. We're going to line up the sides and the bottom, and we're going to leave the overhang on the other side. So we're going to line up the bottom first. Sometimes it bows, so I try to eliminate that. Okay, now I'm going to put some screws in it. I'm going to put screws in the sides as well as the back, and I'm going to use a countersink bit. Alright, and I'm just going to pre-drill all those. Now for the back, I'm going to use 1-inch Robertson screws, and for the sides, I'm going to use 1 1/4 inch. Alright, so we have a little design issue. Not really surprised when you build your first one. So this was going to be the top, now it's going to be the bottom. And the problem is we needed to put some roller bearings in. These are sliding screen door replacement wheel sets, okay? And these things aren't all that expensive. They're like $8 and you get 2 of them. Because of the weights, I'm going to use 3 of them. So we marked the center, and I'm going to put all 3 in like this. And after I put some small screws in, these are number 6 by 5/8 Robertson. I'm going to screw that in, and that just holds it in place. And then we're going to put this spacer on top of it. And the spacer is going to keep the wheels basically locked in place so that they don't move anywhere. Alright? And this spacer itself is 3 1/8 inch wide by 25 1/8, which is the overall outside dimension of the doors. Alright? So screw those in first, then glue and nail this together, and then we're golden. Alright, so we don't want them past the edge, this edge over here. We want them just inside the edge. And I want this one right in the center, so I marked out center. So just screw these in place. Oops, not like that. I want them up and down. Alright. Alright, so we're going to put some glue on here and use 1 1/4 inch brads. Put it on, line it up nice, make sure everything's flush. Alright, because I'm using 2 different sizes here, there's a little bit of a gap in the back. So if I start using these things are going to be pushed back, and I don't want that to happen. So what I've done is I've made some spacer blocks, and I'll put the spacer blocks in the drawers, or in the doors I should say, and that'll keep these from moving backwards. So we'll do that now. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to glue and brad nail these into place. Nothing fancy. Alright. Alright, so here's what it looks like inside, from the back, from the bottom. You have the wheels in there, right? And it will sit like this on a rail. We'll slide back and forth. Now, put these things inside. And this is what it's going to look like, right? You're going to be able to access your doors and things. And the sides stick out a little bit further, just in case you hit your cabinet with something. So the doors stick out just a touch more, but you know, I didn't want to make it too big. I wanted to make it as small as possible while protecting the doors. Alright? And that's what it's going to look like. So, pretty good, eh? I think I'm going to be happy with it. Now, I'm going to take this in and go over the edges, smooth them out, and then we're going to have to stain them. Alright, so what we're going to do here is we're going to work on the bottom cabinet. The bottom cabinet is just going to hold these. Okay? That's all it really does. And it provides support for the upper part of the cabinet. It's just really just to strengthen it up, because I believe the doors are going to carry a fair bit of weight. So we want underneath it to be pretty strong so it doesn't bow. All right. Boards are all 3/4 of an inch pine. So your first line is at 3/4. Your next line is 24 7/8, and then you do your 3/4 inch space. Then your next line is at 49 3/4. Then you do your 3/4 inch space. And your last line is 74 5/8, and then you'll have like a 3/4 inch space left over. So what we're going to do is we're going to line up the top and bottom boards together at the same time. And I'm going to use my square, tighten that down. And what's a good one that you can see here on the camera angle? So I put my square up, and the last part of the ruler is actually going to overlap the other board a little bit, and that's going to be my mark on the next board. I can do my starting mark on the next board. And that way I don't have to measure everything out twice. I just measure it the first time and transfer the marks to your next board. And before you do all that, you should, after you lay it out originally, you should put up your spacers and measure your distance, make sure that's all good. So I've done that, I've measured my distance, I put these in, and sometimes you'll do something and you'll say, oh well, you know, this should be the same size as that other piece, but this isn't. This is actually larger than the orange ones. And not by much, but just enough to screw things up. So, in the other cabinets, it's a little bit different than this base cabinet. Alright? So now we're going to put together the bottom cabinet. So we're just going to use Vita glue. I'm going to do this a few at a time. Line it up, nail it to place with 1 1/4 inch brads. I have 2 sides on. I'm going to run a bead of glue. I have the 2 sides on and the dividers. So I'm going to set the back on, and I put lines on the back so that I can see where I have to shoot my nails. So line that up. They're all set. Sometimes they twist a bit when you're making stuff, so you have to force it into place to some degree. Alright, so that's all done. I reinforced it with a few screws. You know, and then these ones will fit inside like this. And what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to put like a spacer in behind these so they don't move. Anyway, so I'll just make up some spacers for that. In my case, this will be 3.5 inches basically, and that should do it. Alright, before we put it all together, there's one more thing we have to do. We have to put this rail in. And this is what our patio door wheels run on. Okay? And it's going to sit in the wood like this. And this one, it's 1/8 inch thick. It's 3/4 inches wide. And this particular one I bought, it's 8 feet long. And you can get these by the trim section by like the showers and stuff. They have all the shower trim and hardware and stuff. I don't know why they have these there, but they're cheap there. I think it's like $6 or something. Not very expensive. So anyway, we're going to put this into the wood, and it's 3/4 of an inch, right? So we're going to leave a 1/4 inch proud, and we're going to bury the 1/2 inch into the saw kerf. Alright? So we're going to raise our saw to 1/2 inch, okay, off the table, and the saw kerf is basically the width of this, okay, and to get this lined up perfectly, our cut is going to be 3 and 11/32 in, okay, so it's that's to the center of the saw kerf, all right. Then what you do is set it in place. It should set in quite nicely. If not, you can tap it in with a rubber mallet. Just tap it in. Should be good. And that's it. Now we go to the assembly part. This is the top board detail. Where you see the dotted line is the rabbet that you have to cut out. 1 1/8 inch deep and 3/8 inch high, basically. Okay, so this is the plan for the main cabinet. Now the top detail, you actually have to cut or route a 3/8 inch deep, like deep this way, rabbet, and that is going to be 1 1/8 inches wide, and that's the thickness or the width of these bifold door guide tracks. Say that 5 times fast. So bifold door guide tracks. So these are available in 3-foot lengths or 4-foot lengths. So after you get the top and the bottom details fixed up, then you're going to assemble the whole thing. So what I did was I built the frame first, the outside frame and the dividers all together. What you can do is you can pre-assemble the 2 dividers side by side and just glue and nail them together and then put them in. And then do your sides and top and bottom. And then after that's all said and done, basically you're going to nail it, or the way I did it was I nailed it and glued it. And then I reinforced it with some number 8 1 1/4 inch screws. Then after I was done with that, I put the back on, so I flipped it over, I ran a bead of glue all the way around, set the back on, and I just used some brad nails and some 1 1/4 inch number 8 screws again, and I used the back to square the whole thing up. So I'm assuming that the cuts for the plywood are square. Okay, I'm just gonna assume that. All right. So this one is 73 7/8, and it just fits right in the saw kerf. You just tap it in, you're done. You just leave it like that. That's fine. Okay. And then your bifold door track, cut it to size. And then I installed it with number 6 1/2 inch screws because you don't have very much space here. Okay, so this. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to attach this to the back wall. And I'm only going to do like every other bin. I'm going to put in a screw. So just one here, and then one on the other side. Just to keep it from falling out. And that's basically it. Alright, so now what I'm going to show you is the doors, right? So this is your sliding door, and what I want is I want the door to be basically flush at the top and bottom, or at least equal, right? So if it's in by, you know, 1/8 of an inch or 1/16 of an inch, you try to match the top up that it's the same, so it looks good. And you can tell by the gap right along this edge, all right, and that makes it really easy Okay, or you can use your square and just measure it with your square, right? And that can show you basically how much space you have. But it's easy when you line it up at the edge. So what you want to do is line it up at the edge, and then you want to find basically the center, right, for this track, and then you want to put these wheels in, which I'm going to show you how to do now. Alright, so it is tub and shower replacement hardware, okay? And it has these brackets on. You're actually going to take the bracket off, and then you're going to use the wheel. And then I used some machine screws, and these are 8 by 32 by 1 1/4. Okay, so it's number 8. The thread size is 32. I don't know a whole lot about that stuff. And the length is 1 1/4 inch. So this is the right size screw, machine screw, to fit into the tub enclosure roller brackets. Okay? Anyway, so we pop the wheels off. We have this. I used a washer, 1/8 by 1 inch, and this is a fender washer. You can use smaller ones. It's just, you know, use what you have, right? So I have these, and that's what I use. Now, the wheels fit up on top like this. So this is the tub enclosure wheel, right? And it moves around. So what I've done is I've measured inside to make my doors flush. I've measured in, and this one is at 1/4 inch. Okay, sorry, not 1/4, 1/2 inch. So I've measured in 1/2 inch. I've brought it in away from the edge a little bit so I didn't split the end grain, and I drilled down, so just wide enough for this screw, right? Now what I did was you put the washer on the screw, push it up through the bolt, and then thread this on, right? And basically this is just hand tight. It's not really tight at all, and it's hard to see, but down in the bottom underneath it there's actually the nut. So now I'm going to show you how to put the door in. Oh, and I also got these handles, okay? And these are just utility handles. They're dirt cheap, okay? Like $2 or something for a pair. So I have a pair of these handles. Alright, so now I'm going to show you how to put the door in. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the bottom, and we're going to put the bottom in on an angle over top on the other side of this. I just find it's easier that way. And then bring the top up in here, and then pull the bottom this way. It doesn't really matter, you can do it either way. I just find that this way is easier. So set it on the shelf, put it behind it a little bit. Okay, there's enough clearance here, and you lift this up and try to get the wheel on the track. And with this design, I actually have enough space that I can get my fingers kind of underneath here. And now the wheels are on the track, and it moves back and forth nicely. Yep. Okay, and these tub enclosure wheels fit nicely in this track. Alright. And that's it. That's your cabinet. Alright, so thanks for watching. I hope I've inspired you to make something cool for your workshop. And if you like it, give it a thumbs up. If you would also like, please subscribe. And I'll promise to do more cool stuff like this. And anyway, thanks a lot. Have a great time in the shop.